The grandparent scam starts with a call that comes at the worst possible moment, and that is by design. A voice that sounds exactly like your grandchild says they are in jail, in a car accident, or stranded in trouble far from home. They are crying. They beg you not to tell anyone else in the family. Within a single hour, you may have wired money to a stranger, bought stacks of gift cards, handed an envelope of cash to a courier standing at your own front door, or even been directed to a cryptocurrency ATM to send digital currency. This is the grandparent scam, and it is one of the most emotionally cruel frauds operating in the United States today. Unlike schemes that appeal to greed, this one weaponizes love. It targets the deepest instinct a grandparent has, the instinct to protect a child in danger, and then it shuts down rational thinking with manufactured urgency and demands for secrecy. The numbers reveal how serious this problem has become. In 2025, Americans aged 60 and older filed more than 200,000 complaints with the F.B.I. Internet Crime Complaint Center, reporting combined losses of $7.75 billion. That figure represents a 59% jump over the previous year, according to the agency annual report. The average loss for an older victim reached $38,500. More than 12,000 seniors lost over $100,000 each in a single year. Distress scams that rely on artificial voice cloning, the modern engine behind many grandparent calls, accounted for more than $5 million in reported losses on their own during that year. Before we walk through the reporting steps, it helps to understand how the modern version of this scam actually works, because that knowledge shapes what evidence you need to collect. The scheme almost always unfolds in stages, each one designed to keep you off balance and moving fast. The first stage is contact. A scammer calls and poses as your grandchild, usually claiming an arrest after a car accident. In many versions, the accident supposedly involved a diplomat or a pregnant woman, details added to raise the emotional stakes. The caller sounds panicked, rushed, and afraid, and that emotional pressure is the entire point. The second stage introduces a second voice. Another scammer takes the phone, posing as a lawyer, a bail bondsman, or a police officer. This person delivers the demand for money, framing it as bond, legal fees, or medical costs for someone injured in the accident. The handoff makes the story feel official and removes the grandchild from having to answer hard questions. The third stage is the secrecy instruction. Scammers tell victims to keep the matter quiet, sometimes inventing a judge-imposed gag order to explain why no one else can be told. This isolation tactic is the heart of the scam. It separates you from the very people who would recognize the lie in seconds. What makes the current wave especially dangerous is artificial intelligence. Scammers now harvest short clips of a real person voice from social media videos and use voice cloning software like 11 Labs to recreate it. The voice on the phone may sound genuinely like your grandchild because, in a manufactured sense, it is built from their actual voice. The F.B.I. received more than 3,000 complaints from seniors referencing artificial intelligence in 2025, with losses exceeding $350 million. Knowing this structure matters for one reason above all. It tells you that the polish of the call, the realistic voice, and the official-sounding lawyer prove nothing. The most convincing version of this scam is also the most likely to be fake. Now let us turn to what you do after it happens. Consider a composite case drawn from the patterns investigators see again and again. A woman in her 70s receives a call from a young man sobbing that he has been in a crash and arrested. He sounds like her grandson because the voice was cloned from a birthday video posted online. A second man takes the phone, calls himself a public defender, and says bail must be paid in cash within 2 hours or the boy spends the weekend in jail. The woman is told a courier will come to collect the money and she must tell no one because a gag order is in place. She withdraws $9,000, hands it to a stranger at her door, and only learns the truth when her real grandson answers his phone that evening, safe and confused. Her story is painfully common, and it illustrates why the steps that follow are so important. If this has happened to you or to someone you love, hear this clearly. You are not a fool, and you are not alone. These criminals are professionals who run this script thousands of times, refining every word to bypass caution. Falling for it says nothing about your intelligence. What you do in the hours and days that follow, however, matters enormously. The first principle is simple. Speed beats everything else. The faster you report, the better your odds of stopping or freezing the money before it disappears for good. Certain transfers can still be halted during a short early window, so every single hour counts from the moment you realize what happened. Before you make one phone call, gather your evidence. Sit down with a pen and paper, or open a note on your phone, and write down the date and the time of the scam call. Record the dollar amounts you sent and exactly how you paid them. Note any account numbers, transaction identification numbers, and confirmation codes you received. Write down every name, phone number, and detail the scammer used during the conversation. Save everything physical and digital that connects to the fraud. Keep text messages, emails, voicemails, and screenshots. If you bought gift cards, hold on to the cards themselves and the store receipts where you purchased them. This documentation becomes the backbone of every report you are about to file, which is exactly why you collect it first, before the adrenaline fades and details slip away. Now we move to the reporting steps in order. Your very first call goes to whoever moved your money. That means your bank, your credit card company, the wire transfer service, the payment app, or the gift card company. Tell them plainly that the transaction was fraudulent and ask them to reverse it or freeze it immediately. If you paid by bank wire, contact the bank or the transfer company and request a recall on the transfer. Reversal grows unlikely once money reaches a scammer, but you must ask anyway, because the early window is the only window that ever works. Ask the institution to begin a recall or a freeze on the receiving account and ask them to document your request in writing. When you call your bank, be direct and organized. State that you are reporting fraud, give them the transaction details you wrote down, and request that they flag the receiving account. Banks have internal fraud departments and established procedures for exactly this situation, so ask to be connected to that team rather than explaining the whole story to a general teller. If you paid with a credit or debit card, file a dispute, which the card company often calls a chargeback. You can usually start this through the company website or by calling the number printed on the back of your card. For debit cards in particular, the timing rules are strict and they protect you most when you act quickly. Under federal rules known as Regulation E, reporting an unauthorized electronic transfer within 2 business days caps your liability at $50. Wait longer than that, and your exposure can climb to $500. Wait more than 60 days after your statement was mailed, and you may face unlimited liability for the loss. The lesson could not be clearer. Report today, not next week, and certainly not next month. If you paid with gift cards, call the company that issued each card right away. Use the contact numbers printed on the card or listed on the official F.T.C. gift card page. Tell them the card was used in a scam, provide the card number and the personal identification number, and ask for your money back. Some companies now flag and freeze fraudulent balances automatically, so if the scammer has not yet drained the card, you have a real and immediate chance of recovery. Gift cards behave almost like cash, which is precisely why scammers favor them, so manage your expectations while still acting fast. Even when the money is gone, reporting the card to the issuer and to the F.T.C. feeds the fraud tracking systems that help investigators map these operations. Your report protects others even when it cannot fully protect you. Once your money trail is reported, file with the federal authorities. Go to the F.B.I. Internet Crime Complaint Center, which you can reach online at ic3.gov, and which serves as the central reporting hub for internet-related and wire fraud crimes in the United States. Your complaint there can actually trigger a freeze request on the receiving bank account through the financial fraud kill chain process, which is why this step carries genuine investigative weight. When you fill out the Internet Crime Complaint Center form, it will ask for the information you already gathered. You will provide your contact details, a description of what happened, the financial transaction details, and any information about the scammer such as phone numbers and email addresses. Having your evidence written down in advance turns a stressful form into a straightforward task. Be aware of one practical detail that catches many people off guard. The Internet Crime Complaint Center will not email you a copy of your complaint, so save or print it for your own records the moment you finish filing. You will want that documentation later when you coordinate with your bank or local police. Next, report the scam to the Federal Trade Commission. You can file online at reportfraud.f.t.c.gov. This report accomplishes 2 things at once. It creates an official record of what happened to you, and it feeds the Consumer Sentinel Network database. That helps investigators track these criminal networks across state lines. Every report strengthens the larger effort against these operations, even reports filed long after the money is gone. File a report with your local police department as well, and consider contacting your state's Adult Protective Services if you are an older adult. A police report gives you an official case number, and that number matters far more than most people expect. Banks, card companies, and retailers are considerably more willing to assist you when you can hand them documentation of a formal investigation already underway. When you visit or call your local police, bring your written evidence and your Internet Crime Complaint Center confirmation if you have it. Some departments treat these scams as a low priority because the criminals are often overseas, but the official record still helps your financial recovery and contributes to any larger investigation that may already exist. You may wonder what actually happens to your report after you submit it, and the answer explains why reporting matters even when your own money is gone. The Internet Crime Complaint Center receives thousands of complaints daily and uses them to identify patterns, link related cases, and build the larger picture investigators need. A single report may seem small, yet it can become one thread in a much larger investigation. When many complaints point to the same phone numbers, the same bank accounts, or the same money laundering pathways, law enforcement can act on the cluster rather than the individual case. Reports also feed a unit known as the Recovery Asset Team, which works to freeze fraudulent transfers caught early enough. Your FAST report is the raw material that makes those freezes possible. Your data also helps agencies warn the public and shape prevention campaigns. The detailed annual reports that quantify elder fraud losses, the ones cited throughout this video, exist only because victims took the time to file. In a real sense, every report you make protects strangers you will never meet by sharpening the warnings that reach the next potential victim. There is also free expert help available, and you genuinely should use it. The AARP Fraud Watch Network operates a helpline. You can reach it at 1-877-908-3360. Trained fraud specialists there have handled this exact scam thousands of times over. They can guide you through the reporting steps, walk you through your recovery options, and offer emotional support during what is genuinely a traumatic experience. Do not underestimate that emotional component. Victims of the grandparent scam frequently describe shame, anger, and a deep sense of betrayal because the crime exploited their love for family. Talking to someone who understands the scheme and who does not judge you for it is part of recovering. The AARP specialists exist for exactly this reason. Grandparent scam victims are frequently targeted again, sometimes by the very same criminals who struck the first time. Fraudsters buy and sell lists of people who have already fallen for a scam, then return wearing a brand new disguise to strike a second time. The most common follow-up attack is the recovery scam. Someone contacts you claiming they can retrieve your lost money, often posing as a government agent, a bank investigator, a lawyer, or a specialized recovery company. They ask for an upfront fee, or they ask for your account details so they can supposedly deposit your refund. This is the same crime wearing a different mask. Remember this rule without a single exception. No legitimate agency will ever charge you a fee to recover stolen funds. The F.T.C. will never instruct you to wire money, buy gift cards, withdraw cash, or move your savings to protect them. Anyone who promises to recover your money in exchange for a payment is simply running the second half of the scam. Never pay them and never share your account or your wallet details with them. There are also concrete steps you can take to reduce the chance of being targeted again. Scammers research their victims using personal information from social media and from data broker websites before they ever place a call. Limit what you share publicly about your family, especially the names of grandchildren, travel plans, and recordings of your voice. Consider removing your information from data broker sites, which are the same databases scammers mine to build a convincing story. You can also harden your defenses at home. Turn on the spam and scam filters built into your phone to block known fraudulent numbers. Do not answer calls from numbers you do not recognize and let unfamiliar callers go to voicemail. Above all, agree on a family code word now, a private word that a real grandchild could confirm and a scammer could never know. Let us bring the steps together so they stay with you. First, gather every piece of evidence you can find and write it down. Second, call whoever moved your money and ask them to freeze or reverse the transaction. Third, file with the F.B.I. at the Internet Crime Complaint Center and save your own copy. Fourth, report to the Federal Trade Commission. Fifth, file a police report and hold on to the case number. Sixth, call the AARP Fraud Watch Network for expert guidance and support. Throughout all of it, stay alert for the recovery scam that may follow. The criminals behind these calls count on one thing above all else. They count on shame keeping you silent. They want you too embarrassed to pick up the phone and report what happened, because silence is what lets them keep operating. When you report, you take that power back. You protect your own finances and you protect the next grandparent who is about to receive the very same terrible call. If this video helped you, share it with someone you care about because the strongest defense against this scam is a family that has already talked about it openly. Stay informed, stay connected, and stay safe.